there's no excitement like there used to be. It's just go, go, go. And you never really slow down to enjoy the small things like getting a new machine or getting a new truck.
Good day, and welcome back to the Skid Steer Nation podcast, where we dive deep into the heart of construction, excavation, and everything in between. I'm your host, Ryan Deemer, and we're here to bring you stories, strategies, and insights from industry leaders and groundbreakers. And today, we're in for a real treat. I'm talking with James Watson, the founder of JWSR LLC, and from the thrill of buying his first skid steer to doing $3 million in revenue, and to the complexities of managing a team of 18, James and I are going to discuss his triumphs and trials. And ever wonder about the tipping point for when it's time to call it quits? James might have the answer. Plus, don't miss out on his epic fiber optic journey, a tale of niche domination and the struggle to maintain it. Before I introduce James to the show, I do want to remind everybody that Skid Steer Nation podcast is brought to you by none other than skidsteernation.com, your home for high-quality American-made skid steer attachments. So whether you're in the fiber optic game, the gravel driveway grading game, or anything in between, we've got the perfect attachment to make your job easier at skidsteernation.com. James, welcome to the show, and thanks for being here today.
Thanks for having me, Ryan.
Yeah, you've got quite a little journey in the last 3-4 years.
Yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but a fun roller coaster.
It's weird. I was just talking with somebody the other day about that, how the outside world sees the success, the peak of the iceberg, and they don't realize all the roller coasters, ups and downs, the sleepless nights, and the stress of everyday business ownership that we go through. And you get tired of hearing that it must be nice. And you're like, yeah, it is. It's nice chewing antacids all night, not sleeping, and wondering about this, that, and the other. So
yeah,
I think
I'm still young enough where it kind of like, it pushes me to keep going almost because, I'm still at that point where I got no kids and, I'm young and don't need as much sleep. So
yeah,
it's definitely been helpful. That's when I get the most work done is in between like 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. I feel like. So
do you find that time to be productive because that's just your natural cycle and you have more focus, or is it because of a lack of interruptions from email, phone, and whatever else?
Yeah, I feel like when the rest of the world shuts down and clocks out at 5 o'clock, it's easier to like hone in on the things that need to get done. That could be, whether that's my crew that I'm talking about or whether that's, the people that we work for and with. It's every day is different, but yeah, like I said, in between that 9 p.m. and 1 a.m. is like, it's a sweet spot.
Yeah. When I was younger, that was about the same for me. And now that I'm getting a little bit older, I've actually transitioned. So I would prefer to go to bed early and get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and work till 7, 8, 9 a.m. when it's the same circumstances. It's quiet. You can focus, get things done. So let's start at the very beginning, man. Like, what was it in 2020 that drove you to the decision to buy a skid steer and start doing work on your own?
So JWSR was founded about 2018. Just my best friend and I in high school doing odd jobs. He was the SR, I'm the JW, and we built up, a decent little client list for some high schoolers. And he decided to go to the military, and I decided to stick with it. So, come 2020 when COVID happened and everybody was looking to have something done in their backyard, it was almost a no-brainer to go out and buy a skid steer. So that's how I got that first piece.
It's crazy to me because I remember when COVID was first, like, we don't know what it is. We got to start shutting down. Like, everybody was nervous and scared, especially business owners.
Mm-hmm.
But for anyone that did service work for homeowners, it was like a boom. Because people were just finally had time to be around their house and go, I'm tired of looking at that.
Yeah. And it's become a shift in play, especially for me, because I was never pre-COVID really. I mean, we were, but not in a business aspect. So we were doing stuff for friends and family. Nothing like the scale we're doing it now. So as we get away from that COVID era, it's more of a nose to the grindstone, really getting out there, trying to, keep our customer service up, keep our word of mouth up. Something I've initiated late last year was, I'm sure you've heard of BNI.
Yep.
BNI networking has been great for me. You gotta give more than you take, but if you're putting in the work and you're meeting with other, business owners, like-minded business owners, people that have your same client list, it could really excel you.
Yeah. And it's because I think people want to help you succeed once they know you and your why. Like nobody cares. Like, let's be honest. Nobody cares about the service you do. It's you. You're trustworthy. You're a good person. He's got a great vision. He wants to succeed. I want to help him get there. Nobody says, "Hey, I want to help him put 1,000 feet of fiber optic in the ground." Like that's not the thought that goes through their head.
Yeah.
And it's that relationship building, like you're talking about, is key for anyone at any phase in your business. It's no matter what.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So that's cool.
Our business is. I'm glad you brought up the fiber optics because we do it from both ends. So on one side, we're business to business with utility installations, and on the other side, we're still consumer based. Where back to our core roots of when we started of putting in retaining walls, patios, grading, drainage. So we try to keep it a nice blend because you never know what's going to happen in one niche compared to the other. So you want to just not put all your eggs in one basket. And that's what I've been trying to do since the end of 2023 is keep a broader vision of things and keep the options open.
Do you find that, I mean, obviously it's working for you. You've got some pretty tall numbers in revenue and quite a few staff members, but do you find that you have to maintain certain staff members on residential work and other ones on the commercial work, or are they able to cross pretty well?
No, my guys are all amazing. I think that's a big benefit of being a young business owner is I still have a very core group of people that haven't moved away or started a crazy career yet, and they're still exploring options. I'd love to keep them on forever. But that's just been one thing is I've never found it hard to find guys to work because my pool is so big right now.
That's huge. And you obviously have to have a good, I mean, the size you're talking about and as quickly as you grew it, you've got to have to not have a lot of turnover. You've got to have some sort of a vision or a culture that you're really good at explaining to the team. Like how do they all buy into what you're doing?
My motto is I try to not give anybody a task that I won't be out there doing with them. I have shifted very heavily into the business role of being an owner and not out in the field as much, which hurts me because I really like running the machines and being out there with the guys. I try my best on free days to get out there, but that's been my number one thing is I really don't take on a job unless I would be out there doing it with them, because it's a level of respect between the guys and I is, I'm not going to be barking orders at them. I'm not going to be that boss. It's part of the reason I actually started my own thing was we did work for a few companies and they may see this, so I don't want to go crazy in depth, but they were a little rough around the edges, demanding crazy things for terrible pay. And once I opened up my business and started getting guys, it was, here's my boundaries. I won't cross them if the worst thing in business happens,
I love that. One, that you're aware and you set some boundaries, but two, you recognize most people that start a business in land services, it's because they work for somebody that they hated working for, or it was chaotic, or they were always in a bad mood. And really at the end of the day, it boils down to an owner or a manager taking the stress of that aspect of the business and projecting it onto the employees. So being able to set that boundary to go, hey, this is a James thing that I need to deal with this end of the business. There's no reason for me to yell at you about not putting the last eighth of a tank of fuel in the skid steer. That would just be me projecting my anger at what I'm dealing with on the other end. It's good that you can recognize that and set a boundary for yourself.
Yeah. Not to say nobody's perfect. I do have my days where I'm sure my guys would love to give me a piece of their mind, but
when it's
we
the
try our best.
exception and not the norm, it's a big difference.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because you've been in those situations where every day you go to work and you're like, all right, what's it going to be today?
Yeah.
And they're not fun.
No, they're not.
So,
and you know, when you're doing a tough job, like for instance, when we do our utility installations, we do it's called boring. I call it missiling. There's a name for it. No matter where you look, no matter where you go, but it's a pneumatic tool that goes underneath the ground, and it allows you to not destroy the asphalt when you're installing these conduits or these fiber optic lines. And it's one of the most brutal tasks that we have. And, you know, it's just something that it can't be rushed. You know, if a guy's got to take a break, he's got to, you know, check his phone, just take a 5 minute break. It's something that I know, like, I'm going to be doing the same thing if I'm in that hole, because it's so excruciating. So it's having an open mind on things and understanding that your guys are never going to be you. Like, as a business owner, you need to get that through your head, is the guys out there working for you are not you. They're never going to be you. You could pay them as much as you possibly could. It's just never going to happen. It's very hard to have an employee have the same drive as an owner. So that's something that very early on, you know, my dad told me, because I'm that kind of guy that, you know, I get frustrated when people start slowing down, but you have to understand that everybody's different and they're never going to be you.
So true, man. So true. I always say, set realistic expectations for the people. Don't set your expectations onto them, because they just won't achieve them. And for me, I don't know how you feel about this, but I always look at the expectations I have for other people that work with me. And I always say, all right, what's 80% of that? Because I'm probably over projecting. And if you run it 100% every day, you burn out.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm like, how do we maintain like an 80% efficiency with the crew? So we have a little peak some days, a little valley some days, but you know, overall, I want to be 80% efficient.
Yeah. I feel like I probably do that subconsciously. I don't premeditate that and think about that, but you're right. I probably have been doing it for so long where I just subconsciously expect 80%.
Yeah.
But my guys are awesome. I mean, I can't thank them enough. I mean, they're a big part of what goes on here, and I couldn't do it myself. That's for sure.
It takes a village, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their role.
Absolutely. So I'm really intrigued. So, you know, you're a young man, you're doing a lot of residential work. How do you find the opportunity? And then what made you decide to dive heavily into the commercial fiber optic?
We started our fiber optic journey as a subcontractor working for a friend. We were down in December, slow with work. We had a excavator or two at the time, and I just randomly said, "Hey, we got guys sitting home. They can come and work if you want." And he said, "Sure, come on out." And we picked it up so quickly and started getting the hang of it that we started investing ourselves in that equipment, and eventually became one of the, you know, main contractors for that company. So it was great.
Is that for like Google or one of those large tech companies, or is it local?
It's a local internet service provider. They're starting to get pretty big around here. So
Nice.
It was nice to be a part of that. Also because just people seeing your names on the doors working on large projects like that, it has been helpful. So
yeah, it opens up a lot of doors. Just, you wouldn't be surprised how many people drive by what you're doing. You never know who's in that car. And if you're not properly branded and clean, you could be missing out on opportunities while you're working.
Yeah.
So you bought the equipment, you're digging into that, you become a prime contractor for that. Like, how much of this fiber optic stuff are you putting in on a day or in a week?
Daily, we were installing at our peak about 3,500 linear feet a day. We do it a little more old school than the new styles, but we find it to be a little more successful and providing the customers with what their expectations are. So around here, there's a lot of rock, and the customers, no matter what the internet service provider we work for is, they want their conduit buried to 18 inches, and to plow that in or drill that in it's very time consuming. So what we do is we dig a open trench for a whole neighborhood. We'll go 3,500 feet. We'll missile underneath the driveways. We'll pull everything through, and then we'll actually rake it back in with the excavator, run through with the compactors, topsoil it, hydro seed it. I mean, we at the end of the day, we care about our name on the side of the door. We do care about the customers we're working for, but it's our name on the side of the door. So even if their expectations are lower than ours, we want to provide the people whose yards we're digging up that don't have a choice with as good of a restoration process as possible.
Yeah, because people will remember if you do it wrong.
Yep.
We talk about that all the time, and they tell 2 people when you do a great job, but they tell 200 when you do it wrong. Crazy. So are you going to continue on this fiber optic journey? Is this kind of the focus for you while strike while the iron's hot? And I know you're aware of making sure you're not all in one niche, but are you still doubling down on this niche?
We're pulling back a little bit, being a little bit smarter about the contracts we're signing. And I'm like this with all of the services I offer, snow in particular. I'd rather do less work for more money than more work for less money. And
yes,
when I figured that out with my snow removal business, it was a no-brainer that I would rather do 10 driveways for $40 than 15 for $30, because I'm making more money or just the same amount of money for less work. That's less overhead, less insurance, less things to go wrong. So we're starting to focus that now into our fiber optics, because we have the street cred of working with this other company and 4 other companies that we're able to say, okay, let's pull it back a little bit. We've earned our street cred, and we can start marketing ourselves to be, a quality contractor in this rather than one of the fly-by-night guys.
I love that. Do you find that the customers that are willing to pay more are actually easier to work with also?
Yes. So they're easier to work with, but they expect top quality because they're paying for top quality, which is perfectly fine. They're getting what they pay for.
Right.
Whereas on the flip side, the companies that are paying less money, once they see all these add-ons, they start freaking out, and it's like, well, you're getting us on a bargain deal in the middle of winter. I mean, it's what you have to expect. We can't just eat everything,
Right. And I find the ones that always nickel dick on the price, that they're the ones that always want the free extras, or they want you to fix this, or this wasn't done to the way I thought it was going to get done. It just creates so many headaches down the road. Where, take a retaining wall, the guy wants one for $3,000. You're like, no, but you make one for 30,000. That guy's happy as a clam and you're done with it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
And I can't stress that enough for, the people in my shoes that are in the snow industry, where you're doing excavation in spring, summer, fall, snow in the winter. You're going to put less wear and tear on your trucks, less wear and tear on your guys. It's such a no-brainer that once you sit down and you actually put a pencil to paper, I mean, it's just common sense.
Yeah, and we always cement that with the people we talk to with it's Pareto's 80-20 rule. So Pareto was a Greek philosopher, and he always had the 80-20 rule, and you can apply that to just about anything. So 20% of your crew typically does 80% of the work, because you're always going to have a couple that aren't as good as the rest. But when it comes to customers, like your top 20% of your customers probably generate close to 80% of your top line revenue. And your bottom 20% of your customers probably account for 80% of your headaches and problems.
Exactly.
So if you can start recognizing which customers go in what bucket, then you can say, we want to find more like this and less like that.
Yeah. Yeah. There's another podcast seminar thing. It's called the Contractors Fight. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yeah. Old Tom.
Oh yeah, Tom. And that was a big thing I learned from him was, your A, B, and C clients. You want to throw out the C's and D's and hone in on your A's. And if you got to pick up the B's, so be it. But just keep your guard up with them, because it's not worth it to have somebody, like you said, nickel and dime you, or the person you're scared about being sue happy. I mean, you really got to screen your customers and your clients and your prospects.
Yeah. And honestly, I think a lot of business owners just wait until people find them and they hope that they're an A client, where we actually tell you, think about the 10 best clients you've ever worked with and start making out a list. Like, where did they live? What kind of cars they drive? What were their interests? Like, check out their Facebook social media pages. And what you're going to find is that there's a lot of overlap. There's going to be some overlap in those categories. And those are the areas you key in on to go find and attract new with your marketing, your branding, and your networking.
Totally. Yeah. I actually, I did that with my Facebook. I targeted friends of friends that I knew were in the same demographic and same interests and people that I wanted to reach out to. And Facebook will actually nip you in the butt for it. I'm banned for like 6 days right now for just reaching out to like 40 people. They banned my account, so I'll be doing that at a slower pace.
You did it too fast. Yeah. Do 5 or 10, wait a few hours, do 5 or 10, wait a few hours.
Yeah.
Listen, we've been banned from Facebook for that same thing. So I get it.
Yeah.
That's funny. That's funny. I got to ask, I was going to wait until it kind of organically came up, but I just don't know where we're going to fit it in organically. So you actually, at your age and the growth that you're seeing, you've actually had a moment where you've considered closing shop?
Yes. Only because, we work for a bunch of different companies, and we worked on a big contract last year, and it dried up without much notice. And what I failed on as a business owner was the 9 or 10 months that we had amazing work all lined up, ready to go. I wasn't putting my nose to the grindstone, contacting people and prospecting. And it was like the golden months of my business that I cared more about managing my team and doing a good job than, like I said, stepping away as that business owner and doing the more important things. So yeah, a few months ago I did consider it, but it's playing out again. We're back up and running, kind of full swing. So, but yeah, the thing is, it tears you apart when you have to let 12, 13 guys go on the spot. I mean, I've had my ups and downs through life, family stuff, school stuff, whatever, and there's no pain like letting 12, 13 really good people go and having to choose who stays, who goes, almost on tenure, who's been there the longest. That's what keeps me up at night was that. So the other business stuff is easy compared to stuff like that.
Yeah, numbers are easy when there's no people involved.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Because I don't know, everybody's different, but I'm like I view myself as like a caretaker. Like, those are my people, those are my guys, those are my, family in a sense. And when you're not able to give them what they need, it's like,
yeah, it hurts worse doing that to other people than it does having it done to yourself. It does for me anyway.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, it's not fun. And there's a silver lining to this though. You learned a lesson about keeping the machine running for prospecting and for lead generation and for potential contracts. And because that stung so bad, you will never forget it.
Never.
Never. I always say you never remember the successes, right? Like you pat yourself on the back. That was awesome. We crushed that job. But you can't remember any details of it a year later.
No, it's the same with, I tell my wife and my guys that when I buy a machine, it's like, I should feel good about it, but it's almost not important anymore. It's okay. What's next? What's going to break on it first? There's no excitement like there used to be. It's just go, go, go. And you never really slow down to enjoy the small things like getting a new machine or getting a new truck.
Yeah. And it's important. I mean, you don't have to sit down for a week, but it's important to like pause and breathe and just look backwards. I tell this to guys all the time. In fact, we were just talking about it on a local podcast for a personal development group here in Peoria, Illinois. But it's so easy for us to move the goalpost forward.
Yeah.
You know, when you're doing 3 million revenue, like that, maybe that might be the goal, right? But all of a sudden you're like, I bet we can get to 4. Like we just move the goalpost. So we never achieve our goals. So it isn't until you stop and look backwards and go, man, we were renting equipment as high school kids, running around trying to get people to let us do anything on their property. And now we're providing for this many families, have this much equipment, doing this much in revenue. Like, damn, we're doing amazing. Like we got to pat ourselves on the back a little bit.
Yeah, it's hard to think that way. I don't ever. I don't know. I don't take a optimistic view on things like that. But yeah, I need to, because it'll burn you out if you're always thinking about the negatives and you never look back and go, wow, we did something worth, remembering or bragging about one day. So.
Yeah. And when you stop and look backwards, especially with your crews too, it gives you some opportunities to highlight their successes and build your culture and community a little bit stronger too. You know, I mean, if you guys hit 3,700 feet in a day, you can look back and go, remember when we could barely get 2,500? Like we're substantially better than we were a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It's a testament to you guys.
That is talks that we have. When we first started out, we were shitting bricks that we did 400 in a day. And it's like, oh my, we couldn't pay the bills if we did 400 a day now. So it's funny.
Yeah. But yeah, just to take a moment, even if you joke and laugh about it, it's just a good reminder that you're on the right track, and I don't know, I catch myself all the time, especially with today's social media world. When I want something, I want it in 7 seconds, not 7 days, not 7 weeks, and sure as hell, not 7 years. And that's typically what it takes, right?
Yeah.
They say the overnight success story is usually 8 years in the making.
Yeah. Totally. And, that's another thing is, once you start making money and saving it up and having goals in mind, you start to wonder, is the service industry even worth it at that point, So that was one of my other reasons for considering closing up shop, was to branch off to something else. But it's good, I'm still young. My crew enjoys it. They love doing the work. So we're going to keep going with it and see what the future holds and see what fiber optics in the tri-state area look like. But there's always that, burner in the back of my head cooking away saying, what's next? What's next in my life? Because I don't think it's always going to be construction. And, I'm still young, but it's something I'm planning for and thinking ahead for.
So what is it about the service industry that makes you wonder if it's worth it?
I don't know. I just feel like, let's take the consumer side, for instance. It's very hard in the market by me to break into anything. So in terms of the excavation, say I go to work for a builder. Every builder around here has had the same excavator for 45 years. You can't break into that market if you want to. You'd have to pay to break in. And so that's difficult. And then we're also fighting the Tom and Larry's cranking out a 30 pack on a Saturday afternoon, building some lady's retaining wall down the road. It's a very weird industry only because people can fake it till they make it and run it such a negative that it hurts the other contractors around them that are feeding families. You know what I mean? Because we have a vision of, okay, we're looking at a year from now, 2 years from now. These guys are looking at the end of the weekend when they get a bundle of cash in their hands. So it's completely different. And that's the biggest fight is those kind of people that are not taking it seriously.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I think that those contractors cause a lot of stress in a lot of business owners across the country.
Yeah. And on the flip side, it's stressful on the homeowners because you've got these guys that can't bid projects right, do it halfway, and then I have to come in and what? Give a price because I feel bad? No, I mean, we're here to make money and put food on our guys' tables. We try to do right by people as much as we can, but at the end of the day, we got mouths to feed too. So it just sucks for all parties involved. And there is the off chance the project comes out decent, or the homeowner is like, oh, I got a bargain on it, so it is what it is anyways. But a lot of the times it's just shoddy work that they take to Facebook and complain about.
Yeah, they do. They do. Back to that whole, they'll tell 100 people when it's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the turning point for you that made you say, no, it is worth it, I'm going to keep driving forward?
No other interest in anything right now, honestly.
Okay.
Just haven't found anything worth making the shift to even.
What would you do with?
And then the sense of, I still want to provide and be that caretaker that I spoke about for my, main crew of guys that I did keep on and fought the battle through me through the winter. And, you know,
No, I get it. And I get it. And I think a lot of business owners, once you get to that size where you've got some other people that are dependent on you, that can be their North Star for staying with the business and restructuring it or finding a new niche within the excavation industry or something like that to keep driving forward, because you don't want to walk away from them.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Well, I do have, I wouldn't be, I'm not planning on walking away. If you guys watch this, we're not walking away yet. But I wouldn't be scared to walk away because all of them are really good guys and they've, I've learned skills and they've learned skills that can take them very far in life, no matter what avenue they want to go down.
Yeah.
So if there comes a day or time when, they want to spread their wings and fly, that's what we're here for, is to, build one another up and, not hold grudges over stuff like that. We've had guys go to leave. We had one guy recently leave to go to 825 for union operator. So, everybody's got to, set their own destiny.
Yeah, I think it's important to remember that we should be leaders that coach up and make people better. And we hope that they buy into our culture and our vision and want to help us reach our mountaintop. But if they find that they need to go in a different direction for their own personal reasons, like, you have to be proud and happy for them.
Yeah. The same way I would want them to be proud of me if I made the switch, it's a two-way street of, you got to respect to be respected, and you have to give before you take. That's BNI's number one motto, is a giver's gain, is being willing to give something if you're not going to get anything out of it.
Yep. It's so true. And you hear it across, all the pundits across the internet will tell you the same thing. What Gary Vee had that book, give, ask, or punch, give. Yeah. I remember what it was. Punch, jab or hook, but regardless, it's giving to make people better. And if you focus on that, then the world typically provides what you need, or an abundance of what you need.
Very true.
Yeah.
My, one of the things I've made it a point for in 2024 is I try to meet with 5 business owner or business like people a week, 1-to-1. Let's grab a coffee. Let's grab a lunch. I want to learn more about them. I want them to learn more about me. Yes, I want them to get my name out there. That's not the end goal, though. I want to see where I can help them, because if I don't give them anything, I know I can't expect anything back. So um, I try to meet with realtors where, you meet with a lot of realtors. How many of them can you refer to your mom selling her house? But what you can help them with is, okay, you've got a client over here that needs something done immediately. Okay, I could be there for you. That's my way of showing you, here's this for you. So every single acquaintanceship is different, but you try to always be there for the other person more than they're there for you.
Yeah. And that kind of, I don't know if you did it on purpose or it's just because you want to be a giving person, but when you meet people and you can understand what struggles they might have in their business venture or their professional venture, and you can eliminate that pain or that struggle, that's what makes
Mhm.
you valuable. So for a realtor, time to market, right? Like we can't wait until it's listed 30 days. We got to get this thing done now because the photos and all that. So if
Yeah.
you can provide them less stress to make more money, they don't care if you never send them a referral for a home for sale. Yeah. And like do you meet with insurance agents too by chance?
I've tried to. I haven't broken into that market yet.
Yeah.
There's room to explore. It's just not something that's like high priority. Right now it's utility installation. That's first and foremost, and everything else kind of trickles in behind that. So it's on my to-do list, but not a very high priority.
Huh. Interesting.
Why do you find that excavators do well with them?
I think it's an untapped market that most excavating companies skip in their market, right? Like these guys have a client book of what, 100,000, 2,000 people that they do business with.
Yeah.
And they have
So
a
we've got
relationship with. So if you can figure out a way to be symbiotic and offer their client something of value, and it comes from them via email, direct mail campaign, or something like that, like you're getting that associated trust because of the agent.
Yeah. And we have a few agents that we, are friendly with. I got a great guy local here that does all of our auto and general liability. He'll kick me all the calls that, like, we got one 2 days ago. Hey James, this lady's retaining wall is falling over. She tried to put in an insurance claim. It's not going to work out. You want to go out there and give her a price and see if you can help her and fix the retaining wall. So yeah, you're right. There is that awesome connection there. Everybody can be a connection. Everybody knows what the minimum 150 other people. So you try not to overlook people, but as a business owner, you have to decide who your key players are. Like you can't waste time with somebody over here who's not that invested with their business when you could be spending that valuable time talking to somebody over here who's just killing it.
Yeah. And I think it's
You
also
mix it
important to
in.
make sure that your values are in alignment with those people too.
Yeah.
Because I met a lot of people that are killing it, but I would not want to be their friend.
Yeah. I'm the same way with the realtors. I don't like working for realtors that are just rush, rush, rush. Let's get to the next sale. Let's get it over with. It's no, I want to give these customers an experience as they're, departing their home or buying their home, because they're spending so much money on it. I mean, what else is more valuable than somebody's home, first home? So it's all about giving a good experience because it's part of the brand.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. And people pay for customer experience. And the moment you start realizing that whether it's for residential or commercial, that you're providing a solution to a problem and you treat the whole sales process, the customer process from that point of view and not, hey, we provide this service, you have a much better customer experience, more reviews, more referrals, because you're helping people get what they want.
And when you have these conversations with people, like, I don't know if could I give a little shout out or no?
Yeah.
So we've got this guy in our BNI networking group, and his name's Jamie McKenna, and just chatting with him, getting to know him more about his business. He's completely broken down our website, showed us our Google Trust, our keywords, everything's junk, and it looks good from a consumer side, and some guy with a shovel or an excavator, but to Google's eyes, it's one of the worst websites ever. So people like that come across your path because you're out there talking to people. I mean, our site's not fully live yet; it's still the old one, but he's been working day in and day out to get those keywords and work with other people in our niche, because there's not that many utility installation companies that are focusing on fiber optics. So reaching out to them, I'm reaching out to them. It's like a well-oiled machine when you find somebody else that really, really cares, because we've had 3 SEO companies, big time companies, try to do our stuff, and it's just terrible.
Yeah. You cannot hire a large marketing firm as a small business. Like your client 199 on the list, and if the clock hits 5 p.m. and they didn't get your work done, they're not doing it. I really feel like you've got to find some other small businesses and grow together. Yeah. Which sounds like exactly what you've done.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. That's JRM Marketing. So
JRM Marketing.
Yeah. He's been
If you're in the New Jersey tri-state area, check him out.
Yeah. Thank you. And right there, what I'm doing, like, he gave to me and I want to give to him. It's just like, it's what I'm called to do. Is I don't know if he'll drum up any business off this, but it's worth a shot. And it's when somebody cares about you, you have to care about them. You have to get rid of the selfishness and the pride, because you're just not going to make it anywhere if you have that in mind.
Yeah, it's actually called the law of reciprocity, and on a psychological level, when you give somebody something, they feel obligated to give you back something.
Yeah.
So you're feeling obliged to promote him because he's giving you something.
Yeah.
Which that's awesome. I mean, that's how small businesses grow, man. That's one of the coolest things about what we do with our coaching program, the Groundbreaking Growth, is that these guys get to meet other contractors, but they're not in their backyard. So the septic installation guy gets real gritty with the other septic installation guy because it's not his competitor. And they really start learning from each other. And like, we have guys that still talk years later after meeting on coaching calls and stuff. And back to your point, it takes a village to grow a business, raise a kid, whatever it is. You've got to have a community and some people you can lean on and trust. Yeah.
And to follow up with that, there's a few off guys that don't apply to this rule, but around here, like I said, I meet 5 new people or 5 good connections a week. And I can't get another excavator to sit down and have a cup of coffee with me. And that's just like, I don't know why there's that stigma there, because, they're locked into what they do, or they're on their way out. And it's like, I wish I could learn from you, and it stinks to have to reach out to guys. I've talked to a few guys in Utah, one in Kentucky, all over the United States. I've had chats with people online, and it stinks that you can't sit down with somebody across from a table and treat them to lunch and pick their brain, because they're so scared they're going to lose their customers. Where I'm the kind of guy where I wouldn't even want to come close to touching your customer. That's like, I don't know, I'm old school. I wouldn't do something like that. So
yeah, and I still baffles me that everyone associates excavation with excavation. There's so many niches.
Yeah.
Exactly. You could sit down with a land clearing guy and learn completely something different on the back end of his business. You're like, oh, I can apply that to my underground utilities business.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're going to go become a land clearing company.
Mm-hmm.
But you might get calls for it. So then you can give him those leads. And then if he ever meets a contact, he can refer you. And if you can get that moving in your area, I've heard a lot of success from guys in different parts where they start working with other local contractors, but they all know their niche. They all know their lane where they want to stay in, and they all help each other out, filling customers in those lanes.
Yeah. I've got a little Facebook page. It's Sussex County Contractors Connect. And, I've tried doing that and inviting people from all lands of the trade and try to pick each other's brain on stuff or say, anybody got XYZ? I need this, I need that. Anybody able to offer a hand? And for some reason, it's just the excavators around us are hard asses.
Well, you are in the tri-state area, man.
Yeah.
You guys are a little rough up there when it comes to protecting your own.
Yeah.
I think you're the anomaly, not the norm. They're giving.
Yeah.
What's the biggest struggle you've had these last 2 years with the massive expansion and then a little bit of the retraction?
Definitely layoffs, 100%.
Okay.
No doubt.
Was managing the team after those layoffs different because was there any unique challenges?
Just kind of like walking on eggshells, kind of like scared to say something because somebody would just want to leave after you hand chose them or, have invested a lot into them, because through the winter, we were definitely in the red, and we as a company spent money on those guys to keep them working. And some will say that's a bad call, but you can't convince me that it was, because those are my guys, like at the end of the day, I care about them more than losing a couple bucks through 3 months of the year.
Well, and I agree with your philosophy, and you obviously sound like you do it from the heart for that reason. But I'm telling you right now, cost of acquisition, cost of training, cost of getting up to speed will grossly outpace a few slow months of you paying a good employee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's the one thing a lot of business owners don't look at. Like, hey, we can't afford that this month. I got to lay him off. And then he goes and finds another job. Well, now you got to spend how much time and money finding another guy. And then that's if the first guy works. It might be the 10th guy. Yeah. You get that process. How much time and money do you spend to replace him just because you didn't want to spend a couple $1,000s in a slow period?
Totally.
But we were the same way. When I ran the manufacturing company, we ran a pretty lean crew. And in the summers when we were busy, they all bitched because they were getting, I asked them to press a little bit. But in the winter when we were slow, I never complained about the work output or if they, take an extra 20 minutes on their lunch break. But I didn't lay anybody off. And that was kind of my trade with them. Like, I won't lay you off on the slow months. You don't have to worry about getting laid off, but you will work when we're busy. Because you always know that season's coming. You can slow down and take a breath. Yeah. And it was the first winter, like everybody was on eggshells. They were so afraid. Like whenever I'd walk out in the shop, they'd be like looking for something to do. And it wasn't until we got through that first winter, like, oh, maybe he actually meant what he said.
Yeah.
And then June hit and I was like, I did mean what I said. And now you need to mean your work output to match the demand in June. Yes. Otherwise, we need to have a different conversation. But yeah, there's a value in having a core team that's always trained. It's part of your community, part of your culture. They know everything about that. And if you got to eat a little bit from time to time, eat it.
Totally. Or I spare no cost of getting the tools that the team needs. I don't want to have my guys go through their job using some piece of shit that is barely getting the job done. I don't think twice if they say, hey, James, we need a new rotary hammer, because they know that when they ask, it's going to happen. So it's kind of like a trade-off where they don't go crazy on me and ask me for the world, because they know that when they do ask, it's going to come, or I'm going to try my best to get it. So
that's all those little things just make the workplace more enjoyable for your team.
Yeah.
Like nobody wants to use a stripped out ratchet set. Nobody wants to use chain binders with no lube. Make the day enjoyable for them. Give them what they need so they can do the right job.
Yeah.
We don't go run marathons in work boots.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Hell, I don't run marathons, period. I don't even know I'd run to the mailbox if we want to get serious about that. But anyway.
Yeah. And we try to do cool stuff for them too. Like I'm wearing these headphones are called Shocks. Um, they're basically like open mics, so there's nothing in my ear and it's all bone conduction.
Yeah.
And it's awesome for being on the job where you got cars driving by but want to listen to music or talk to the guy working a quarter mile down the road or getting them boots or buying them jackets to stay warm. It's you have to give these guys what they want or else somebody else will. That's what's going to happen at the end of the day is somebody's going to give them an offer that they can't refuse.
Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be monetary, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could invest in teaching them financial habits or setting them up with retirement account. And like, cause a lot of people are nervous. They don't know where to begin, but they associate all that knowledge back to you as an owner, and then you're making them better. And then other owners invest in a lot of technology for their equipment.
Mm-hmm.
And what they find is that the more technologically advanced your equipment is, the longer the employees will stay with you because they don't want to go backwards and work the antiquated old school way, the antiquated way.
Yeah.
Who wants to drive a Chevy Malibu after you've had a Ferrari?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you've had quite a few peaks and valleys in a very short amount of time. Would you change anything and do anything different as you sit today, or was the journey worth it?
It's been tough, but it's been worth it. Yeah, I would if I had to not do it or do it the same way over again, I would still do it the same way over again.
Awesome. I love hearing that.
But there is definitely, if I had the chance to go back and change things, there's definitely things that would be changed.
Yep. Keep the gas pedal down in the marketing, the prospecting, and the networking, man. That's the advice I'm taking away from today's conversation. Because you never know when a job finishes and you've got guys waiting around.
Yeah, I never looked at it like that. And you get promised the world by people that you work for, or somebody saying they're going to have a ton of jobs lined up. You never can bank on anything. You can't see what's going on behind somebody else's business or inside somebody's home. Um, you need to work with absolutes, and I kick myself because that's who I am. Is I work with absolutes and I don't guess and I don't like not knowing what's ahead. And you just you feel butterflies in your stomach, like, oh, we got all this work, and I kick myself over it because I would have had 9-10 months to go easy with the SEO and the networking and the marketing, and now it's been 4 months of every single day, 16-18 hours a day, just plugging away at it, meeting with people, talking to people, working on my website with Jamie, writing blogs. It's not worth it when you could have done it over a longer period of time and not drained your battery.
Absolutely. And you're learning it now and you're walking through it, but like set some big, hairy, audacious goals, but then make sure the timeline's right on that, and then break them down into action items that you can actually achieve in a reasonable manner.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And like a lot of business, I mean, that SEO stuff's no joke, man. It takes months and you got to be on it.
Yeah. You need to really evaluate it like all the time to make sure that it's matching up to what Google wants, because they're not going to give you the recipe for success. They don't want somebody cheating the system. So
Yeah.
you really have to do trial and error. So it takes time.
Yeah. And the larger the area, I think the more important it is. Like if you're living in rural New Jersey and you work in a 40-mile radius, if you dial in your local SEO, your Google business profile, and you get a decent website, you're probably going to rank okay for where you're trying to do your work at. But start getting closer to mid to major cities and you got to get on your A game.
Yeah.
Man, thanks for coming on and sharing your story. It's not every day that people are willing to like peel the layer back and say, I was blindsided and it cost me, and I had to lay off some guys. Like, we usually always want to talk about the success. And I think the impact of the stories, when you hear people talking about those pitfalls or those potholes along the way, is more impactful. So I really appreciate you being willing to be open and honest with us today.
Yeah, no problem. For me, I don't like patting myself on the back. I don't like bragging. The new stuff doesn't impress me that we have. I don't know. I guess I haven't figured out what it's all for yet. And I'm a religious person, so I know who it's all for. But on the flip side of that, I don't know my end goal quite yet. And that's okay. I'm young enough where I don't need to necessarily have it pinpoint. I know the road I'm going down. I want to keep going down it and keep going down it fast, but you don't have to pinpoint it.
Yeah, you got to have a little faith. Sometimes you got to have blind faith.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And a good reminder that I was taught. We were talking about God not too long ago with some friends, but we're on this earth for 80, 90 years, sometimes 100. And in the blink of an eye, we get frustrated over a 3-month period. And it's just such a grain of sand on the beach compared to your life. Sometimes you just have to zoom out and remember it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw in one of the, I'm in an entrepreneur Facebook group, and they posted a photo with all the dots representing how many months you're going to live in your lifetime and how many are sleep and how many are during the day. And it's like, shit, we don't have that much time. Like, we got to make all of it worthwhile. And, every month counts, and it doesn't feel that way when you're in it. Like, we're already through almost the first quarter of, we're through the first quarter basically.
Almost half a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts. I mean, it's flying by.
It really is. It is. So, again, man, thanks for joining us today, sharing your story. I think there's a lot of little great advice and nuggets to be pulled out of there for business owners. And if you're an excavation company owner and you're in the tri-state area, look up James. He's obviously willing to create some connections and expand his horizon. And I highly recommend it. It'll make you a better person, a better business owner, and it'll actually improve your business. So don't be afraid of the guys that are in your neighborhood or down the street from you. Just find some good ones and work together.
Yeah. And with that, even if there's somebody who's listening to this who just wants to schedule a, quick chat, I don't care. I love it. It's
awesome. We'll put James' link. We'll put you the link to your Facebook page in the show notes. So if you're looking for James, just open up the show notes. Make sure you open the show notes after you like the show, write a review, and help show us some love too, please.
Yep.
Excellent. Well, James, have a great afternoon. Thanks for coming on, sharing your story. Guys, until next week, don't forget, if you're looking for some advice and want to be a better business owner, groundbreakinggrowth.com. Schedule a call with me. We can look and analyze your business and see how we can help you reach your goals over the next 1, 3, and 5 years. So until next week, guys, keep your hands on the sticks, enjoy the sunshine, and we'll talk to you soon.